Welcome back to Instagram vs. Reality episode 10. If you're just joining us, this is the segment on the channel where we go over your favorite Instagrammers and how they edit their photos to convince you that they actually look like that in reality. As always, a quick disclaimer that I'm not trying to target or harm anyone's brand. The video is simply meant to be informative, using readily available information on the web. This week, the majority of the photos and videos are from Instagram Reality, the subreddit, with a few from TikTok and YouTube. Now, I get that you clicked on this video for a 200-page Kardashian expose, but before that, let's get through some of these easy examples to warm you up. So with this first one, there's not a whole lot to talk about, but it's a case of skin smoothing with a slight selective blur to remove the cellulite's micro wrinkles. Chances are, if they Photoshop one aspect of their body, they'll continue to do so for the others. So if you look over and at her belly, she's sucked that in using the liquify tool. What's great about editing a photo like this is that the camera puts her into focus so that the background becomes blurry, which makes for an easy liquify job without distorting any fine details. Pretty relatively cut and dry, so we'll just move on. The infamous case of sausage fingers. I see this all the time with edits on Instagram. You cannot, and I mean cannot, remove natural body creases when editing a photo. Wrinkles are fine to remove because they have no real bodily function, but creases in the skin are needed for muscles and skin to move freely. I get asked a lot to edit fingers and underarms, but generally leaving these aspects in makes your photo more realistic and lets you get away with other edits without being blatantly obvious. Alright, I guess it's time for the Kardashians. So we'll start off with Kylie. At this point, she's a regular on the channel, and it's clear to see why. She's channeling her inner Katara to bend the ocean in the background. In fact, in all of her photos, something's bending, so she's either an X-Man, a waterbender, or a very poor Photoshop artist. It's a shame so many people, guys and girls alike, think that Kylie's body is natural. Even with clear proof every single week, I still get the same comments. This was taken on the same damn day. You can see the constant fear of having someone take a photo that you have no control over. And this is Kylie Jenner's makeup artist. I see nothing wrong here, everything's fine, no work done whatsoever, no Photoshop there, bending walls, they're just natural, just comes with the job I guess. This is some of Kylie's earlier masterpieces. Her eyes are uncanny and out of proportion to her face. They've been enlarged using the spin tool in Liquify, and you can see a clear blur zone on her lower eyelid. Not to mention the lower eyelid makes a sudden drop off here, whereas the other is a more natural curvilinear line. On the right, what's there to say? Obvious blur zones near her waist, her left thigh looks like someone took a bite out of it, her right butt is bending the floor panels to her will. This edit is nothing like the work she does now, and it shows to me that at this time, she was really just like any other teenage girl, knowing enough about photo manipulation to begin, but not enough to pull it off convincingly. I mean, I have to give it to her. Whoever her plastic surgeon is probably the best that money can buy. Her photo editor, probably not as much. The straight lines of the fabric backing wall are contouring towards her neck. It's a pretty clear liquify job. She's not editing the neck, however, she's lowering her trapezoid muscles, which naturally flex up when pulling that pose. As I'll cover in a future defining beauty episode, subscribe to catch that, lower trapezoids gives the impression of a more feminine, slimmer neck, which accentuates her high cheekbones. Conversely on guys, a thicker, wider neck gives a more masculine look and greatly improves facial dimorphism. It's like a +2 points on guys if it's done correctly, so as Jeff Nippard often says, never skip neck day. I mean, I did say this was a Kardashian special, not a Kylie special. It wouldn't be fair to Kylie anyway because I dislike them all equally. Well, maybe not Scott Disick, but he doesn't count anyway. With photos like this, there isn't a whole lot I can point out in terms of editing or how it is edited, because there's heavy post-processing involved that distorts the telltale signs of liquify use or even skin retouching. However, the four faces are all supposedly different, and they're all supposedly meant to be Khloe Kardashian at the same time. You can just tell by looking at it. In the Defining Beauty series, I covered the terminology that tells you exactly how they're different, like for instance the gonial angle of her jaw in number 2 is far shallower than Khloe's real angle in number 3. Her zygomatic facial width in number 3 is far wider than that of number 4, making her seem to have a longer face. Her bigonial width in number 1 makes her look like a bootleg Kylie Jenner, but in number 4 it's a lot narrower. It may seem pedantic to point out these specific features, but in aspects of plastic surgery, portrait art and Photoshop retouching, these are important features to consider to recreate the same face and stop this from happening. The differences in facial parameters are too large to be justified by angles and parallax error. Check out the Defining Beauty series if you haven't already to learn more about how we define faces. I say this often, but the way most influencers get caught out is by video. It's harder to edit, but not impossible. I've covered how faces are edited in Hollywood productions, and soon I'll be releasing part 2 that covers how it's done on live streams like Twitch and Instagram. Here's Kylie getting caught out in the same way. Instagram versus Instagram Live. Editing wise, there isn't much to say. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt and say it's like this because she is mid-sentence, but it's a good example to use to point out the side effects of filler injections. The trend goes that guys often get permanent implants to mimic bone structure, and girls get fillers to mimic facial fat. Softer faces are seen as more attractive on women, and more defined, almost gaunt faces are seen better on men. In that regard, men have a very clear advantage because fillers have a long-term side effect of shifting around the face as you age. By unnaturally adding more soft mass to your face in the form of hyaluronic fillers, you're simulating the job of fat naturally in your face. Problem is, fat moves, and the more you have of it, the deeper the creases on your face get, as the gradient from regions of filler to those with no filler become more pronounced. It'll look great while you're still and not moving, but adding extra mass changes your facial biomechanics, deepening natural creases like the nasolabial line to move muscles around as you speak. Again with Khloe, same deal as before. Her alar width, so this part of the nose, is smaller. Her eye colors are completely different from green to brown, and I doubt sunlight can do that. Since half her face is covered by hair on the right, there isn't much else I can comment on. This picture actually came from a family photo on Twitter, so it's not like I'm cherry picking the photos either. And this next one is actually from the same day as the previous one. I can't really tell what's bending in the background. It could be a pillow on a chair, but Kylie's sitting on the chair's armrest, so that pillow would have to be floating in the air. Also, it's a coincidence that it's bending upwards near Kim's waist, so my verdict is that it's a liquify edit. For people who make a living off their appearance, you'd think that they'd spend more time inspecting the background to leave no room for doubt that their photos are edited. Now, here's something interesting. Ever notice how the Kardashians, other Instagram influencers, and modeling photo shoots almost never smile in their photos? Smiling distorts your features on camera and makes you less photogenic. So it's always been strange to me that the default go-to response is to smile for a photo. The Kardashians always go with the blue steel pose, which adds to their aura of exclusivity and staying aloof from everyday people. But then you see this and it ruins the appeal. My point being, the way you pose your face is just as important as the composition of the photo itself and can change the entire tone of it. Do it enough times over an Instagram career and people will start to associate those feelings of exclusivity with you. But obviously there's a charm to it that the Kardashians have mastered, trying without looking like they're trying. Which is why you all love it when they get caught editing their photos. It breaks the illusion. It's why people love keeping up with the Kardashians. They're selling both the poison and the cure. They're selling both the exclusivity and the inclusivity by bringing you into their lives. Out of these girls, if there's anyone you should look up to, it's probably Kris Jenner. She's an absolute marketing genius. Alright, that brings another episode of Instagram versus Reality, Kardashian special, to a close. Before you click away, some important announcements. Me and a team of developers, vector illustrators and photo retouchers, I had to pull a lot of favors, working on building cuvs.com. Here there'll be articles of scripts that I've written but can't fit into any of my episodes, more in-depth breakdowns of photo editing and more defining beauty content. I'll have a lot of the sensitive articles be verified by their respective professionals to give you the most accurate content. Koos.com is geared more towards the facial aspect side of beauty, like the Defining Beauty series, because there aren't a whole lot of blogs that cover that concisely on the internet. Articles discussing the factors that influence jaw shape, different beauty standards, etc. All of the things I can't fit into a video without going off on a tangent. A lot of you have been asking me to rate your faces. By a lot, I mean like 400 plus requests a week. Another set of you have been asking to hire me as a photo retoucher, both of which are services I'd like to mainstream on the site to get through with more clients because I have my hands full right now. If you like the quality of these videos, you can expect just as much effort in the quality of the site and the content I give you.